I am the Outreach Program Manager at California Institute of Technology's Center for Teaching, Learning, and Outreach.
And I'm Mitch Aiken, the Associate Director of the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Outreach.
And I'm going to open up our presentation here. Move us down here. All right. Our presentation is Building and Sustaining a Classroom-Based STEM Educational Program at an Underserved Elementary School. And I will let people read through the outline if they wish. We'll save a little time. You can pause here if you like. So just to give a brief introduction, the Visiting Scientist Program is bringing our Caltech grad students and postdocs to a local elementary school, and they're providing weekly lessons, weekly hands-on science lessons. They're collaborating with the teachers, and they are working with these students. We are at our second school, and I'm going to let Mitch talk about the genesis of the program, which predates my time at Caltech.
Thank you, Kitty. This program came in response to a request for help from the principal of the local school. The school's resident scientist providing hands-on science lessons in the school was reassigned to a district position leading the school without this resource. And the teacher reached out to me and asked if perhaps a graduate student at Caltech would be interested in taking this on. Of course, I knew that no one graduate student could take that kind of time and responsibility on, but I thought maybe if we could assemble a team of volunteers, we could together, working in shifts, be able to deliver some hands-on science to the school and reach all the kids in the school working as a team. And so that's how Science Wednesdays was born. At first, the lessons were pretty loosely tied to the content being covered in the classrooms, and it was initially more science enrichment than true curriculum support. But when Kitty joined our team at Caltech, then things changed. She took it to a whole nother level. She worked directly with the teachers and with the principal and with the district STEM specialists to really figure out how to align what we were doing with the next gen standards, and very specifically the science and STEM content being taught in PUSD in these grades. So we were able to tie what we were doing in the hands-on experience more directly with what was happening the rest of the week in all the classrooms.
Great. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about what we've learned from that program, and also talk about our evaluation at the end, and so how we can tell that the program is effective. So the program has 3 goals. The first goal is graduate student pedagogical development. I'm going to move this over so you can all see these adorable pictures here. Grad student pedagogical development, and we are allowing them to create and administer hands-on STEM lessons for elementary students, and creating growth in their teaching capacity. Caltech is a small university. Nearly all the graduate students are studying in STEM fields, and we don't have a school of education. And so there aren't a lot of formal opportunities for teaching beyond teaching assistants and undergrad and graduate courses. So this is an opportunity for them to not just go out and do one-off science events, but actually do lesson development, classroom management, active learning skills, and really practice pedagogy. The second goal was to serve as STEM mentors for K-5 students. Pasadena Unified has a very large underserved population of low-income students and students who are underrepresented in STEM, and not a lot of opportunities to meet science in their day-to-day lives, not a lot of parents who are scientists. And so this is an opportunity for them to have working scientists as models, teachers, mentors. We can see here, this is, we actually bring them to campus for lab tours every year, so they actually get to see our scientists not only in their classrooms, but where the grad students are doing their work. And we feel that this is a really great way to open up their eyes to the availability of STEM careers, and that it's possible for them as well. The third goal is to provide grad students who are STEM content experts for teachers. Among elementary school in particular, the teachers are probably least comfortable overall with the STEM content if you survey a lot of teachers. And so providing people who are from all fields of science, as our visiting scientists are, allows them to have people to ask questions with. They can co-develop lessons, and then being part of the lesson planning and the lesson in the classroom allows those teachers to gain confidence and gives them greater self-efficacy in providing STEM instruction. And then the grad students learn from the teachers classroom management skills, pedagogical skills, lesson planning, all these kinds of things that are very important for later on. So a little bit about our visiting scientist team. It currently consists of 2 CTLO staff members. That's me and Mitch. I serve as the coordinator for this program. We have 13 graduate students right now. This is us at a Zoom meeting yesterday. And we have moved into the COVID-19 age. And we are in 4 grade level teams. One team does K2, a team that does 3rd grade, team with 4th, and a team with 5th. Our grad students come from all fields of science. And then we also are very fortunate to have 2 affiliate volunteers who are former elementary and middle school science teachers, and they assist us with our lesson planning and have just been a wonderful resource for us as we develop our pedagogy and our classroom lessons. Our partner school members are the principal, the district STEM coach, and the school's curriculum coach. And the school curriculum coach helps translate a lot of these lessons so that they are accessible for some of the students with special ed needs. And then we also have 25 K through 5 classroom teachers. Our program design, I'll talk a little bit about this. This is sort of our overview of our program design. It's designed for impact and it's designed for sustainability. We want this program to last. And as Mitch mentioned, we're in our 4th year of this program. We started off at one school in Pasadena. It was a very small school, and we were able to visit with those students every week. The school was so small, it was closed. And so we were at a school that's about 4 times the size, and we've learned a lot about how to work this program at a much larger school. And we had to recruit a lot more students to work with that program, but it's coming along this year. It's been really going well. We want to make sure that the school partner is best suited for collaboration. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these things. And then we also want it sustainably designed for graduate student needs. We'll talk a little more about that. So the school demographics of the school we used to be at and the school that we are serving now are pretty similar. 98.5% of these students at our partner school are from racial or ethnic minorities underrepresented in STEM fields. They're primarily Latinx or Hispanic students and Black or African American students. That's how they identify in their surveys. 94% of them are classified as socioeconomically disadvantaged, and 54% of them are English learners. So these are students with a high degree of challenges and needs, and so we feel like we can have the greatest impact with them because they are the ones who are probably least likely to have programs like this or access to enrichment opportunities in the summer with places like Caltech. We have found that the relationship with the school administration is key. The principal's point of contact is a consistent communicator, and she is routinely in touch with us, with me, about planning. She is willing to schedule planning time for university participants and school faculty, and she alerts us to changes in the teaching schedule so that our visiting scientists don't show up on a normal lesson day and find that the 5th grade's on a field trip and no one ever told us. That is something that you can run into, and so we're really grateful that we selected a school intentionally with a principal that I knew who was going to be a good communicator with us. The school makes its teaching resources available to our partners so that we don't have to drag everything there. We have a space there that we use for our lessons. They provide us with some of the materials and their curriculum. If we need Chromebooks for the students for a lesson, then they'll bring them in. Really important, education and active learning are both shared values between us and our science partner. So they really care that science education is happening at their school and that it's happening in a way that's exciting for the kids and And so that makes it much easier because she is willing to be enthusiastic and get buy-in with her faculty. She's also a consensus builder with the faculty. There's a lot of extra work for those faculty to do the lesson planning with us. And so she's championing it from that end to make sure that they are remaining excited about it. And then she also accepts feedback from us if there are issues. So say a teacher is in the back grading during the lessons and we really need them participating, she'll have that conversation with them and make that change. And that has been really helpful. For the grad students, we wanted to make sure that it was flexible and considered their time constraints as grad students, because teaching elementary students is not why they came to grad school for the most part. They're doing research and taking classes at Caltech, and so we need to make sure that they are able to continue with this program. Teams of 3 to 4 visiting scientists are working together to develop lessons for the entire grade. So rather than just having one student per classroom and then say something happens and that student can't come that week, or that student has to drop out because they have a higher priority with their research, we have a team of students who works with the entire grade. And that provides consistency for the K-5 teachers because each class is getting the same lessons from the same people every week. And the team members stay relatively stable throughout the year. But it's flexible for grad students if one person has to drop out because they have travel or quals coming up, or they have a conflict with a TA schedule. They can switch teams, and still there are other people on that team who have been familiar with that grade level and with those kids. So there's consistency with flexibility. And then we as coordinators try to be sensitive to the weekly time commitment of the visiting scientists. The commitment is an optional weekly 45-minute download meeting. As long as we have one person from each grade level team, they don't all have to be there. Somebody always comes. If they can't, we just get their report by email. They spend maybe 1 to 2 hours of lesson planning per week. And we have a different teaching schedule. The 5th graders get the most science. So the 5th grade team teaches 2 one-hour classes weekly. The 3rd and 4th grade teams teach 2 to 3 classes, but every other week. And then the K2 team teaches each class once per quarter. So we have 3 quarters in our school district. Structure here is we have a team lead. That's usually somebody who has experience with the program or is an older grad student with fewer like classroom or TA commitments, and or maybe somebody who has some previous K-5 classroom experience as a volunteer. We haven't had one yet who's actually been a teacher, but that would be great. Who was a grad student, that is. They serve as the point of contact with the other team members and with the grade level teachers, and they organize their lesson planning meetings. And then there are 2 to 3 members on each team. And then the former K-12 teachers, we have these 2 who are both staff spouses or grad student spouses, and they help the grad students understand standards. They help level the activities. Sometimes our grad students have these ideas that are like really phenomenal, they should do this, but really it's appropriate for like a 7th grader or a 12th grader, and they can bring this down to the level of a 3rd grader. They're really good at that. They're also really good at helping embed math, language arts, and art into the lessons, and just explaining to the visiting scientists, like, here's what's going on in a classroom, here's what a teacher is thinking, here's how a teacher might do that. They also help us assist with formative assessments so that the scientists know how to check in throughout the lesson and make sure that the students are getting it. They'll sometimes come. This right here is Jennifer in the back. She's one of our teachers, and she'll come and just sort of help with classroom management. And it's been really great to have them as part of our team. Our communication practices with them are really important. We have shared lesson development space, so they put all of their lessons into Google Docs. And then our CTLO, our office, provides meeting space for their group collaboration time. So they have space for the whiteboard and tables and whatever they want to plan, and that's open to them whenever they need it. And then we do have these weekly download meetings. That's where I find out what materials they do. I try to pull off a lot of that kind of logistical work. So getting materials from places like this. I serve as the point of contact with the school administration and the district science coordinator. And then we have consistent messaging. If there are things that are sort of overall issues, I'm the one who goes to the principal, and then the principal goes to the teacher. And that way we have sort of a pipeline of messaging. It's not all over the place, the visiting scientists aren't having to solve problems by themselves. We are recruiting and onboarding throughout the year. This is not something that if they don't join by September, they can't participate. So we have ongoing recruiting efforts. During orientation is our big time. We recruit heavily during new student orientation. So we have tables at orientation events. We have flyers. And we host an outreach session. We have a TA training for our new grad students, and we host an outreach session so that they know about the opportunities and can sign up from there. We also have a monthly e-blast where we list all of our outreach opportunities, and I always include visiting scientists in there. We attend monthly table sessions for new employees and postdocs, and so we attract some postdocs that way. And we let new team members on board anytime during the year. And we just ask if they can stay for at least the quarter. So we have them come to a meeting, see what they think. And then if they want to stick around, we say, if you can commit to a quarter, that's great. Usually they get hooked and then they want to stay for the whole year. Some of our have been there for 4 years, so it's wonderful. Program isn't limited to grad students or postdocs, so we do allow alumni and spouses or life partners, and community volunteers are also welcome, but we do ask if they're not a grad student or a postdoc that they sort of take a back seat in terms of lessoning. They're there for support, like our teacher members are there to help them with pedagogy. We really want the grad students and the postdocs to do the majority of the teaching. So Mitch is going to talk a little bit about our program evaluation.
Thank you, Kitty. We were fortunate enough to have a funder actually provide some support to bring in an outside evaluator to look at all of our outreach programs last year to determine how effectively we're meeting our goals. And included in that study was the evaluation of this program, the visiting scientist. And what we wanted to find out is how well we were meeting the goals that Kitty had discussed earlier in the presentation here. We worked with collecting data from the Caltech instructors and the teachers to determine their outcomes and observations. And some of the points we learned were that both the instructors and the classroom teachers felt that the program was having an impact on the K-5 students' STEM interest, and the students were enjoying the lessons. Feedback from our instructors was generally positive and indicated that they found the experience both personally rewarding and valuable for their professional development. So it's really key that we saw we were meeting their needs, because as a Caltech department, that's our first goal, is to serve Caltech folks. So to see that we're making an impact on our own graduate students and postdocs was very rewarding for us. We also learned in the evaluation that they saw the positive effects on their own lesson planning skills and their ability to explain scientific concepts to a younger or a lay audience. And this will be crucial throughout their careers, of course. And they also emphasized, many of them very heartily emphasized how much they appreciated all the support provided by the CTLO. We also surveyed the students to find out how they felt about the program. We found that they were engaged and satisfied overall with their experiences, and they retained the core concepts that were being covered in the lessons. We also saw some evidence that we were increasing their interest in self-efficacy towards science after the program participation. So that's one of the big goals, is that we just leave them loving science and wanting more. And we felt that we were hitting that mark. And then also we saw that they had a general understanding was increased over the meaning of science and then what scientific careers look like. So they have a better understanding after the end of the program of all the possibilities. And so in meeting the different graduate students and postdocs or working with them each week, they really got to see the variety of types of people and types of careers and types of things you can study in science and engineering. Okay. And then we also wanted to know how we can improve the program. There were a couple things that the graduate students helped us really look at to see how we could make changes to improve. And one was helping them manage the time commitment. It is a very big time commitment, and we found that the biggest way to support that is simply to bring in more students. So the more graduate students on the team, the less work involved for each one. They could divide up the chores and the responsibilities for the different classrooms and pinch hit for each other if someone was tied up with their research and couldn't attend a lesson. That really helped help them feel better with the overall balance of their lives as they're doing all of their other day job activities and research, as well as providing this wonderful service to the community. So that structure has helped them feel comfortable with that. And then the other thing they were asking us for support with was to make sure that the teachers were fully engaged, as Kitty mentioned. That's a big part of this, is making sure that the teachers don't check out during the lessons. So part of that is working closely with the teachers to prepare the lessons in advance, and using Google Docs just to share ideas and lesson plans and vocabulary and terminology and all the things required to work cohesively. So creating that format has been very helpful, as well as making sure we have at least quarterly in-person planning meetings so that the grad students, our practitioners, can review with the teaching team exactly what the plans are for the next quarter.
All right. So we have adjusted to distance learning in the COVID-19 age. The last month has been really interesting for everyone, I'm sure. So Pasadena Unified, we are very lucky there. Pasadena Unified has supplied all students with Chromebooks, and those who need Wi-Fi can request a hotspot device. The visiting scientists, we are continuing our weekly meetings virtually, and they are also meeting with grade level teachers on lesson planning. Our lessons utilize videos. We have a YouTube channel they can upload to the Google Sheets or forms for responses for feedback from students. And the teachers can invite the scientists to Google Meet sessions for synchronous class time. And then our lesson planning, we're trying to be very thoughtful about what our students might have available in their homes. A lot of them live in apartments. They don't have yard or easy outside access. And they have parents who might still be essential workers working outside the home. So they're being supervised by older siblings or grandparents. And parents don't all have enough English fluency to translate the complicated instructions. So we're trying to make sure that our lesson planning is taking into account all of those things, and that the activities are things that they can do, but that are still teaching them what they need to know. So this is a screen grab from a Zoom lesson that Keith, who's one of our 5th grade team members, created about water cycle. And so he uploaded this to the YouTube channel, and the 5th grade teachers are gonna have the kids do this lesson next week. So we have a little advice from the trenches for anybody who's thinking about programs like this. We advise people to be collaborating with their local community or school district to evaluate specific needs. Do you have a high English learner population? Do you have SPED teachers who need STEM support? Foster youth might benefit from mentorship programs. So what are the needs that aren't being met in the community that you want to serve? We tell people they probably take any volunteers who seem appropriate, even if they're not grad students. Like we say, we keep the focus on the grad students' pedagogical development, but the supportive role of some of our other volunteers has been really invaluable in helping grow this program. And then think of ways to incentivize participants to stay for a term or a year. We haven't had to do any of these, but they're things we've thought about for the future. Course credit, certificate programs to show commitment to teaching practice. We do have a grad student-led program out of CTLO that's separate, where graduate students and postdocs can do journal clubs and do a research study, a small-scale research study on a pedagogical technique, and get a certificate for participating in that. And if they normally would use that, do that study as in a class that they're TAing, but they can do it in visiting scientists if they wish. we say we need to make the program flexible enough that individuals who leave, obviously grad students graduate eventually or take time off, don't leave a grade level or a teacher without program participants. And then think about the scalability of the program. Often you say, this is great, we should have this at all of our schools, but it's not always possible. It has to be commensurate with the administrative bandwidth you have to run the program and with how many students you can get to do it. So we're serving this one school really well. And if we could bring it to a larger population, we would. A lot more schools want it. But that's the balance that you have to have with scalability versus bandwidth. So during our live session, we're going to invite people to think about these questions. So I will leave these for you guys to read on your own. And then Mitch has a final thing to say before we sign off, and then we'll see you on the 29th.
Thank you, Kitty. Now stay tuned for some teacher and grad student reflections on the value of the program and a brief sample of a lesson delivered remotely by one of our graduate students just last week. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
I started the Visiting Sciences program when I got here because I was looking for a way to give back to the community a little bit using the skills that I have. And I like working with kids. It was something I did in undergrad, and I want to continue it in grad school. Obviously, grad school is really busy. There's all sorts of things that are going on, lots of, especially first year, where you got the tests and all the assignments and things. But I was able to, complete all my assignments, do fine in all my classes, and do the Visiting Sciences program at the same time. Never had to miss a lesson, so that was good. I'm fortunate in some ways for that, but I also think that even though it is a time commitment, it's not too bad, especially for what you get out of it. So I think going into these schools really gives you a deeper understanding of the material in some ways, because the kids are going to ask you questions that no scientist will ever ask you, because there will be some assumption of knowledge, but every once in a while the kids will ask you a question, and maybe I can answer it, but even if I can answer it, I don't know if I fully understand this topic. I think my understanding is incomplete. And so then I'll go and do a little bit of research myself, and I often find that I learn from that. So I think that this experience is not only beneficial from like a volunteering and a career perspective, but also intellectually. I think I have fun with the kids, but they teach me as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Mazin. I'm a fourth-year graduate student in the chemistry department here at Caltech. I've been a member of the Visiting Scientist program since its founding in January of 2017, and I'd like to talk a little bit about our strategies for the long-term sustainability of the program. I, for one, think it's crucial to get graduate students invested and involved in the program as soon as possible, right when they arrive. The earlier students get involved, the more they consider this to be part of their Caltech experience and, to be frank, part of their job. For students who are maybe interested and passionate and join later, they're much more likely to quit when lab or classwork becomes stressful. For me, Visiting Scientist and its moderate time commitment of about 4 to 5 hours a week is more than just a welcome distraction. It's part of my Caltech experience in life. And the work of teaching elementary students and developing curricula and teaching lessons is a rewardable and enjoyable part of my job itself. And to talk a little bit about the way this program has improved my skills as both an educator and a scientist, to focus on one, this program has made me become incredibly precise and direct as an educator and communicator. Working with young students, and many of whom may not speak English at home, it forces you to be very deliberate with how you define your scientific vocabulary, how you answer your questions, and how you describe experimental details and procedures and, lead observational discussions. Many scientists, for example, may understand the reaction very well between vinegar and baking soda, or can describe in detail a food web, but it requires real fingertip control of the source material to be able to describe it effectively to an audience of students, many of whom are different types of learners, anticipate their questions, and provide useful and informative feedback. And to this end as well, we develop lessons that make use of household materials exclusively, so that students can instantly recognize and approach the subject matter and they don't feel like it's a kind of magic trick. Thank you for letting me be a part of this discussion.
Hi, my name is Olivia too. I am a fourth grade teacher at Madison Elementary School in the Pasadena Unified School District. And it's been a pleasure working with the Dr. Cahalan and the visiting scientists from Caltech in their science visiting scientist program. And I have to say, for the last 3 years being a part of it, it's been wonderful to see my students because they have enjoyed every single week the hands-on experiment that the scientists have brought to them. They've also have been able to ask questions and gain valuable insights from the expertise from the scientists. And the one thing that I know that they're grateful for is the last 2 years they've been able to visit the Caltech Scientist Lab and see hands-on what the scientists do and be able to enjoy all the wonderful things that the scientists have brought to us. So it's been a life-changing experience for all my students. Every single week, they look forward to the science experiments and to hear what the scientists will present with them. And thank you, Caltech, for continuing this partnership with us and for bringing science and real hands-on science to our students here at Impact Madison.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all staying healthy and safe in this hectic time, but I'm happy that we can all still be doing science together. And today, we'll be talking about the water cycle, because even though you may be stuck inside, the water cycle is still going on outside. So today, we've created a game, and I'm going to walk you through how to play this game on your own by playing it myself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. So in this game, you are a drop of water, and you will be making your way through the water cycle. Your goal is to learn about how water can go through each step of the water cycle, and you will track your journey. Be sure to pay attention to the vocabulary words in the descriptions. These will be italicized, which means that the font will just kind of be slanted to the side. And pay attention to the water cycle diagram throughout your journey. The water cycle diagram is the next slide, which is this one here. And as you can see, there's many parts of our world that have to do with water, such as the ocean, or clouds, or rain, or animals, or rivers and soil. Animals can sweat and water evaporates off their bodies into the atmosphere, where when carnivores eat other animals, they gain water too. There's lots of ways animals can gain water and give water off into their environment. So I'm actually going to let it stop here and encourage you all to try playing this on your own and see what kind of routes you can take as your characters. And remember, record what path you take, and then you can go ahead and use this path to fill out the worksheet that I'm going to provide to you, so that you can maybe discuss it with your classmates or your teachers afterwards. But if you have any questions, you can always ask your teacher or ask one of us, and we'll be happy to help you play this delightful game. But I hope that you all stay healthy and keep doing a great job learning and being scientists, the great scientists that you are.
Hello, my name is Kevin Barraza, and I am a former graduate student, postdoc, and member of the Visiting Scientist program at Caltech. Currently, I am in my second year teaching full-time at college, teaching chemistry. And I'd just like to take a moment to describe how the Visiting Scientist program influenced me as an educator. So first, I think there was a real benefit to working with a younger audience in that it helped me develop and practice, as well as the confidence to reach out to a different kind of audience. I think one thing that's important is to be able to reflect on how we convey knowledge to a student. And by working with younger students, I was able to sort of think about how to present information in a way that these students find tangible and understandable, and relate that further in my own career to how can I make my lectures, my lessons, more presentable to students of different ages, different backgrounds at the college level. So in that sense, I thought that I'd gained some important experience through the Visiting Scientist program. Secondly, I think that the Visiting Scientist program helped me hone my skills in lesson planning, coming into the classroom with an idea of how the day will present itself, how it will unfold, what activities we'll do, but also It gave me practice with expecting the unexpected. Things might not go according to plan, and that's okay. And through that, I learned to sort of adapt. And I think that adaptability is something that still resonates to higher education or education at all ages. Being able to see where the activity should flow naturally rather than being sort of rigidly stuck to your own lesson plan. So having that flexibility was something that I also learned at the Visiting Scientist program. So I really think that this program helped hone my skills as an educator, and I really do appreciate everything that I learned there. Thank you.